Drugs. So, this topic we are going to be talking about drugs and what it did to me in my life and why you should avoid drugs at all cost, especially while you're young. So, I grew up in New Zealand, South Auckland, and there's a lot of people there that chases the substances and they use drugs quite a lot. So, I grew up around a lot of drug users. A lot of my family, I wouldn't say were hard drug users, but a lot of them used things every now and again, and I was exposed to it. But definitely in friend groups and people I worked with, I was definitely exposed to it as well. So from the age of like 13, 14, I started smoking weed. And they say weed isn't a gateway drug. It depends how you look at it and how your crowds are and who you um, hang out with while you're younger, because it definitely can be a gateway drug depending on certain situations. And weed, I smoked every day for like 5 years straight. Like up until I was 18, 19, I was smoking weed every day. And I just couldn't stop. It was wake up, have a cone, go to like before bed, have a cone, in the middle of the night, have a cone, just like literally non-stop. I just couldn't help myself, and I wasn't very functional. Like I had no drive, I had no um, motivation to go do things. I was just lazy, and I would just smoke weed and play games all the time. So for the first like 13, 14, 15, when I was those ages, I was just smoking weed and I was skipping school and I was playing games. And then when I got a full-time job and I started working with cranes when I was 15, I then got exposed to alcohol and a lot of harder drugs as well. So I'm talking meth, coke, crack, all of that shit I was exposed to from when I was 15 all the way up until I was 18, 19. And I used to take all that shit. And for 3 years, 4 years, I was on hard drugs and I used to take it not often, every now and again, but weed was every day for sure. And I was surrounded by people that used to take it too. Sometimes it was just taking it to complete work because we used to do like 12 to 18 hour shifts pulling down tower cranes and all sorts of stuff. So we kind of had a smoke so we could get through those shifts. And it was just like a sesh thing and it just spiraled out of control and I started doing it all in my own time, and I did it with people that I hung out with. All of my so-called mates back then were on something. They were either alcoholics, they were either on the weed, they were either on the drugs, any of that stuff. So literally could have been anything. And for years I've wasted all those years on those hard drugs, chasing the high, just not being sober. I couldn't be sober for more than like 24 hours. It was just impossible for me to be sober, which was shit, and I see all these other people chasing their dreams, like being athletes, have good circles, good mates, hanging out with people, going on trips, holidays, all of those sorts of things, and I was just stuck in the hood. I was stuck in Mangere, South Auckland, Pukekohe, South Auckland, Wellington, and I was just bumming the city. We used to go do scraps all the time, like go have fights with fucking random people in the middle of nowhere just because it was something for us to do, just petty little shit. And crime. Crime was another thing that I got into because I was on these drugs. And I used to smoke all this shit and hang out with the wrong people, attracting the wrong crowds. So if you're, in your, mid-teens, early teens, whatever, from 15 all the way up until your 20s, like you're gonna try shit. Most people do. But just don't lose yourself. Don't realize the difference between addiction and having a little bit of fun. Like make sure there's a fine line between where you don't cross that line and you don't overdo it. But for most people, I'd say just stay completely away from it because it's not just like you having the high and chilling at home and hanging out with your bros. It's all of the things that could happen while you're on it, like overdosing, crime, all sorts of things like getting into trouble, driving while high, all of those sorts of things can ruin your life. You know, you're not functional, you're not a sober person, you're not making the right decisions when your mind's cloudy and all of these sorts of things. You just have all these drugs running through your system. So, what's the point? There's literally so many bad things, bad outcomes that could happen from taking these substances where you're just kind of risking it for a good night out. So it's technically not worth it. The amount of people that I grew up with that I've just seen lose themselves, that have just smoked and they've just done drugs and that's all they've done and they can't stop and they just want to keep doing it. You know, it sucks because some of these people were the most talented people that I seen in high school, that were very smart, that were like good at sports or whatever, you know, and they've just completely lost themselves because they've just chased this high and they were surrounded by the wrong people. And this is why, you know, drugs is scary, especially in my neighborhoods, because I got more prone to drug dealing. Like I started slanging weed, I started slanging meth, crack, all that stuff, because at a young age I was exposed to it. I wanted to be like that. I wanted to be like these gangsters. They used to sell drugs and ride bikes and wear these patches and things, and I just was like, yeah, fuck, that's me, that's gangster. Like, yeah, if that life is for you, that's me, you know, that's all good. But bro, for me, I didn't want that. You know, I didn't want to be like that anymore. I left it. Like I looking over your shoulder, you know, always guessing people, always questioning if you can trust someone that you meet, you know. And the scary thing is with being on drugs, a lot of people backstab you. A lot of people that are so-called your mates, they do slimy things that, you know, might not happen to everyone, but they do little things behind your back, and because they're under the influence, because they're high, because they're broke, because they need money, they're willing to rob you, they're willing to set you up, they're willing to do all of these fucked up things to get ahead of you. And you know, that drug culture while you're young is just so extreme because you're still learning to be an adult. You're not mature, you don't know what's right or wrong, so the drugs just take hold and you're just like, fuck it, I'll just live it this weekend, I'll just do it this weekend, and it just keeps rolling over. And before you know it, years are gone where you're just chasing this high and you think you're all good, and you blow all this money, you blow all your potential, you fuck your body, all of these things, they just completely obliterate your future. So, what's the point? Why would you risk all of that time, all of that effort for you to be on this planet taking drugs, being under the substance, when there's so many other things that you can chase for real dopamine, like going to the gym, going for runs, going traveling, go to new countries, all of these sorts of things, have new hobbies. Like, where I used to just come home from work after like a 10, 12 hour day and just smoke cones and jam the game. And I used to do that continuously for like 4 or 5 years, bro. From when I was 15 to like 18, 19, 20. That was literally all I did. At work, I used to smoke weed. Like I was stoned at work all the time. I used to be up in the tower crane just smoking cones, or on the site smoking cones. I didn't give a fuck. I'm in a high risk work industry. Like my job literally kills people. It is a dangerous job. And then I'm over here just fucking smoking cones, not giving a fuck. If I had an accident and they drug tested me, bro, I could be done for manslaughter for being under the substance. And I didn't think of those problems when I was high. All I thought back then was like, oh, fuck it, it'll be all good. But there's so many other consequences that can happen from taking drugs, like meth and all of those sorts of things, bro. If I got caught slanging, if I got caught doing it, I could have done time, bro, big time too, because of how much I was dealing with and how much stuff I was moving. Like, if they just caught me once, I might have got a slap on the wrist, but a couple times after that, I would have been done for. Like, a few of my bros are in prison. They're in prison now, still too, the ones that I grew up with, because we went from smoking weed to doing hard drugs to doing crime to doing all of these fucked up things. And it just trickled effect. It just kept rolling. So, like, when does it stop? What's the point? Like, drugs is just, there's so much downside to it. I'm not saying don't enjoy yourself, don't have fun, but I'm saying be wary. Like, literally understand the consequences that could come from you taking drugs. It isn't just deteriorating your body, it isn't bad for your health, it could be bad for your future. It could mess your whole future up. It could mess everything you've worked for up. It could mess relationships up. So, be careful. Choose wisely. Surround yourself with the right people. Don't take these drugs and don't chase this dopamine if you don't need to. There's so much free dopamine out there that you can get from doing other activities, doing other things that are just as good as a high. You know, the closest thing that I feel high is after a run. After a big ass long run and I'm just standing there for like a good couple minutes, I'm like, holy fuck. I'm knackered, but I feel great. I feel mean. A lot of more people need to feel that. But that's just my personal opinion. Like, you can do what you want with this information, but as someone that started drugs at 13, 14, 15 and continued to do it throughout my 20s, like, frequently, this is just my opinion. And how many things it could lead down, what pathway it could lead down. It's just not worth it. It's literally not worth it. Before you do drugs, before you do anything, be careful. Think about it. Think about the process. Think about all the harm that it can do to you. And try do something positive rather than negative. And I'm not saying I'm like perfect and I don't do anything these days, because I sure as hell every now and again have a bit of a toke of something just to relax, enjoy my time, but I don't do it nowhere near as much as I used to. I would not be where I'm at today if I was still smoking weed, if I was still doing hard drugs. No chance. I'd be fucked. But take care. Look after yourself. It's not worth it.